Hey everybody, welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another proRevenge Reddit video. If you're new to the channel, then subscribe and help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers. In our first story, you forced me to buy your kids Christmas presents? No problem, I know just what to get them. Let's jump right in. This slow burn starts a full year and a half before my plan came into effect. Earlier in the year, my dad quite sensibly suggested that with the size of our family Christmas party, we skip a generation with gifts to ease the financial strain as the extended family grew. At the time, I was struggling with my business and athletic career, and my wife, then girlfriend, was working on her second master's degree, so I suggested names from a hat, but he wanted to spoil all his grandchildren. I said fair enough. I'll chip in for Oma's cruise and buy gifts for my step-siblings, but don't expect anything grand. The cast for the Christmas party. Me, 28 years old at the time, heavyweight mixed martial artist and strength coach, aka small-time athlete working a day job to barely make rent in addition to training full-time. Martha, stepsister, 40-ish, an aging mombi whose only assets are starting to sag too much for them to be assets anymore, leaving her with no other definable personality traits. Jane, my oldest niece, 12, stepsister's daughter. Imagine the most vapid teenager stereotype you can and multiply it by 1,000. Tim, my oldest nephew, 9, stepsister's son, living proof that you're never too young to be a butthole. Robert, my stepbrother, 36, formerly cool dude who gave up on life when his kids were born. Years later would gain back enough willpower and gumption to physically assault his wife. Tammy, my bro's daughter, 6, sweet and shy girl, terrified by my mere presence, the wisest of the bunch in my honest opinion. Bubba, my brother's son, age 7, a generally nice kid who at this time was partway into evolving into a butthole, after being constantly told to look up to and emulate his cousin. Tammy has brought a Nintendo DS, and all the kids are struggling to see and play it together, so I foolishly offer to loan them mine to lighten the load. Tammy agrees to share with Jane, and Bubba agrees to share with Tim. Having stupidly deprived myself of my means to escape social obligations, I go to the living room to acquire that much older cure for not wanting to deal with other people: alcohol. Not even having had time to pour a dram, my trained ear picks up from the kids' room the unmistakable sound of one human being pummeling another. I politely suggest to Robert that he might want to go have a look, but bro hasn't given two craps about anything in about 7 years, so he waves it off and I go to investigate. I walk in to see that Tim may be a butthole, but is not untalented and is managing to strike, shove into a wall, and kick Bubba all at the same time, while attempting to play my DS with his other hand, having decided his turn began the moment I left the room. Jane has simply wrested the DS from Tammy, who is now sitting in the corner crying. I shout for Martha, informing her that if she doesn't get in here to break things up before I count to 10, I would have a stern conversation with them. She turns up and separates the kids, and I retrieve my DS. Instead of giving Tim a lesson on sharing and not hitting people, she proceeds to berate Bubba, the kid who was beaten, for not simply giving up the DS to her little piece of crap and making her son look bad. Jane simply lets out a tween-age sigh for the ages and tosses the other DS into the crying Tammy. I then excuse myself from the party, thanking whatever gods may be that I don't have to provide gifts for any of those little blanks. 6 months later, my firm belief in atheism is confirmed as bro calls me and this conversation ensues. Hey Elbow Smash, while I really appreciate the gifts last year, you should really get something for the kids this year instead. Christmas is all about the children, after all. No, I turn up to chat with you and Dad and Oma. I really don't give two craps about the kids. That's a mean thing to say about my kids. Don't you care about them? You cared about them so much that at the last party you couldn't be bothered to break up a fight where your son was being beaten bloody. Tim is a good kid. Martha just said he had a bad day. He was literally beating your child. You didn't put pics on social media for a week because of the bruises. If Tim were an adult and had that kind of a bad day, I'd have had a stern conversation with him and convinced him peacefully to lay on the floor until the police arrived. Well, Stepsis and I were talking, and we think you should buy stuff for the kids next year instead of us. Well, I'm happy not to buy you anything, but I'm not getting crap from Martha's little blanks, especially when she encourages that behavior. Well, if you aren't going to get something for all the kids, you shouldn't get anything at all. It's not right if you don't treat them equally. Done. Now, I'm sure they wish it had been this simple, but unfortunately it wasn't, and I certainly wouldn't have written such a long-winded story if that were the payoff. Thanks for bearing with me so far. We're almost at the end. A few months later, about 2 weeks before Christmas, I get an email from my dad with links to various toys, mostly from Toys R Us, which still existed at the time. When I call him back to ask what that's all about, this conversation ensues. Hey, what's up? I got your email. What's that all about? Those are gifts for the kids for Christmas. That's cool if you're getting them that. I'll see them when the kids open them. No, that's for you to get them. I don't buy for that generation, remember? And I already sent you my contribution to Oma's cruise. You need to get stuff for the kids. Don't you want them to look up to you as an uncle? Not really. Also, what part of my life suggests to you that they ought to look up to me as any sort of role model? You'd be better off telling them to grow up to be rock stars. Not the point. Christmas is about the children. If you don't get them this stuff, I won't put your name on the card for Oma. That's a pretty crappy thing to do, considering I already paid into that. Will you get the stuff or not? Well, guess my name isn't going on the card then. This will cost me more than a month's rent, so you can take this list and grease it up real nice. My dad interrupts me. Calm your jets. This is what they want. I'll get them a token something, but I'm not taking out a loan. Fine, just make it something they enjoy. If what I get doesn't put a giant smile on each and every one of their faces, I'll buy you dinner at a steakhouse of your choosing. That's the spirit. Talk to you later. So Christmas rolls around and my wife and I have bought not just one, but 4 gifts for each of the little ones and wrapped them all beautifully. My dad correctly assumes it's all probably from the dollar store, but it's nicely wrapped and he gives me a look of approval as I place it under the tree. My wife and I schmooze for a bit and then suggest that since we brought several gifts for each of the kids, why don't they open one each before dinner so they have something to do while they wait? Their parents of course agree, as it gives them more of a reason to ignore their kids and talk about them instead, so they send us off to hand out gifts to their kids. Martha is looking especially smug. As they begin to unwrap them, I prepare the camera as my wife goes for our coats, and I stick around just long enough to immortalize on film the big, crap-eating grin on each of the kids' faces as they see what their gift is. Less than 1 minute later, the first blast from the air horn, Tim's gift, can clearly be heard in the hallway by me and my wife as we make our way to the elevator. I have no idea how much of the bulk pack of silly string, Tammy's gift, or the 36 rainbow pack of off-brand Sharpies, Bubba's gift, ended up on the walls, but I do know they repainted the place the next month. Whether or not the pile of slap-on bracelets we got for Jane ended up on the wrists and legs of the parents as they tried to contain the other 3 will be left to the imagination, but I like to think they all ended up in the height of 80s fashion before Boxing Day. I may never know if they opened the rest of their presents. Everyone got a copy of each of the other's gifts, you know, for fairness, plus a bunch of gross and mildly inappropriate temporary tattoos. In the confusion, none of them noticed either me or my wife leaving. I'm certain at some point they did notice the pretty gold envelope addressed to the parents on the tree. Inside was a very pretty card, blank, but for the following note. This was a warning shot from off the top of my head. I've got a whole year to get creative for next time. Merry Christmas, E. I never bought anyone steak dinner, however, I enjoyed several more Christmases with my Oma and Dad until they passed and I stopped seeing that side of the family at all. No mention of this incident or gifts for the kids was ever made again. Thanks so much for the awards, everyone, especially for my first gold. But remember, your local food bank and its recipients need help more than my post needs icons beside it. So if you enjoy my festive tale of revenge, you'll put a much bigger grin on my face by helping out those in need than sending money to Reddit. This is John from Slashbash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more of them, then hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.